Chiefs Kingdom has started its own history class.
This is a legendary run by a legendary team. You got to enjoy every minute of it.
Let's find a way to Tagovailoa is in trouble. Sacked. Back in the end zone. Caught. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Stone cold. Gets the big sack.
The Chiefs are 2-0 for the 7th time under Andy Reid, and now with 2 major AFC victories in the bag, we're on the road for the first time this year for a cross-conference matchup against the Atlanta Falcons in primetime. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, we're off to a great start through a couple weeks, but we cannot let up here tonight.
No, and it's been a dangerous week for 2-0 teams. 4 have already fallen. There have been some surprises. It's just interesting how the league gets desperate when teams are 0-2. Now the Falcons are 1-1, but the Chiefs will have to play an A game to win this one.
Well, the Falcons are coming off an emotional win last week against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football, a game that came down to the final minutes. And a player who was right in the middle of that win was Bijan Robinson. And if you ask me, he's the key to this whole game, really, for both teams.
Anybody that watched him at Texas know that he can take over a game. And last year he set an all-time Falcons single-season record for rookies in all-purpose yards. He really is 1, 2, 3 here on priority, not only as a runner, but as a receiver, Matt. He has 48% of the Falcon advances in the first 2 weeks. A lot of pressure on the Chiefs linebackers tonight. A lot.
You ever feel like we're at a rock concert when we do these shows?
Yeah, this ain't as bad as SoFi, though.
Yeah, we'll be there next week.
Like the front row of the rock concert.
Like Creed is playing right now, and it's so hard to focus. But hey, maybe some good things for Creed Humphrey here tonight. You're right about Bijan, though. He is a stud. Number 8 overall pick in the draft a couple years ago. Right now, he's playing like it. He's averaging 5.2 yards per carry through 2 games. And last week against the Eagles, he averaged 6.9 yards per carry, including breaking off 4 runs of double-digit yardage. You're right. When this Falcons offense is moving the ball, he's right in the middle of it. We've got to contain him here tonight, both on the ground and through the air.
Yeah, and Algiers not bad. They have a little tag team thing going on. And a very good offensive line led by Jake Matthews, who's playing like his 1,000th straight game. And he comes from the great Matthews family. But this is a good, underrated Atlanta offensive line. But again, to me, a concern is Bijan Robinson in the running game, but it's really in the passing game. That's when he gets the ball in space. He has the ability to make plays and get chunk plays. Where will Atlanta get chunk plays tonight? In many ways, their best bet is to get Bijan Robinson the ball in a passing play.
Let's stick with the running game for a minute, though, because one thing that isn't really talked about right now is the Chiefs' defense has been very good against opposing running backs this year on the ground. They're allowing just 3.8 yards per carry to running backs this season. Doing so against Derrick Henry, they held him to only 3.5 yards per carry. And Zach Moss last week, he was only averaging 2.8 yards per carry. The overall rushing yards allowed are a bit skewed because we faced Lamar Jackson in week 1. That's a unique assignment, to say the least. But this defense has been very good against running backs on the ground this year. Got to do that here in this one.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, they're very disciplined. The Chiefs are in run fits. I know that sounds cliche. You have to do that. 2, the Chiefs are deep up front, so they can rotate guys. You don't get worn down. And you can play Mike Pennell. You can play Turk Wharton, who's been outstanding. I mean, you can play different guys up front. Felix Anudike-Uzomah's had more snaps than he's ever had in his life. So when you rotate guys around, you can keep them fresh. This really kind of wraps around, though, to the end of last year. Think about what the Chiefs did in the playoffs against the running backs that they faced. Think about Miami. Think about CMC, even in the Super Bowl. So this really has been a long-term thing for the Chiefs to defend the run game, and really good running backs.
Well, we've held opponents under 28 total points in 23 consecutive games now, and that's a big part of that. Now, the importance of stopping the Falcons' running game is even further amplified by the fact that Kirk Cousins is the Falcons' starting quarterback. And why do I say that? Well, Kirk loves the play-action passing game more than just about anyone, and the numbers back that up. So in 2022, his last full season with the Vikings, he had the second most play-action dropbacks of any quarterback in the NFL. And from 2022 through the first 8 games of last year before he got hurt, he had 17 touchdowns off play-action, third most in the NFL, behind only Jared Goff and Josh Allen. Now, ironically enough, the Falcons haven't done much of it at all so far, but I don't really buy that. I expect a bunch of play action here tonight, and our defense has to be ready for it.
Sometimes there's malfeasance in this league. Kirk Cousins, you go back to 2015 even, is one of the top 3 quarterbacks on play action QBR during that time. That's pre-Pat, obviously. But the last 2 years, you mentioned 22, and in 23, he had 16 touchdown passes off play action. So what does Atlanta do the first week against Pittsburgh? Zero play action passes.
It made no sense.
The first time in Kirk Cousins' career, he's been in the league since 2012, that he had 0 play action passes. So what do? They have 8 such plays against Philadelphia and win the game. They'll have more than that tonight, which is why you got to stop the run. You've got to mitigate the run in Bijan Robinson and Algier to try to make Kirk Cousins one-dimensional, because he doesn't like that so much.
Those 0 play-action dropbacks in Week 1 was so bizarre. He was the only quarterback in the NFL that started to have 0 play-action dropbacks in Week 1. But like you said, got a bit more into it last week, had 8 of them. That was 25% of their dropbacks as a whole. Just suspect a bunch of it here tonight. And Cousins has plenty of playmakers in this offense. We talked about Bijan, but outside of him, who stands out to you in this passing game?
One of the more underrated receivers in the league, Darnell Mooney. He was good for Nags in Chicago. He was really good against Philadelphia last week. Kyle Pitts is a freak at tight end. The highest tight end ever drafted in the history of the National Football League. Remember, he was 4th the year he came out, and why he's an incredible athlete. But they have other guys. It's kind of a 49er reunion team, a little bit of a refugee camp of the 49ers. Ray McLeod is out here.
Yeah.
But he's been good for them. Drake London was a high draft pick, too. There's a bunch of first-round picks running around out here for Atlanta. But it's not just Bijan Robinson. Now, he's most of it, but there's other dudes that can help beat you.
They have a lot of playmakers on offense. The same is true for their defense. A lot of playmakers and guys that we're familiar with from old AFC battles. Guys like Jesse Bates, who was on the Bengals for years. Justin Simmons, of course, a former Bronco. Matthew Judon, former Patriot and Raven, is on this team. This defense has been very good, particularly in the red zone. They've held opponents to just 2 of 7 in the red zone this year.
And also Mike Hughes is on this team.
Yeah, that's right, old friend.
Yeah, old friend Mike Hughes, a Chief in 2021. Their red zone defense really has been keyed by those guys. Jesse Bates, who's been an interception machine, your safeties have got to come up big. Many times you have less corners and more safeties when you're in a sub-package in the red zone. Plus, they must be able to tackle. So those DBs, to me, in particular Jesse Bates III, is a key factor in their red zone defense. They're 5th, as you mentioned, in the league. These two teams are almost mirror images of each other when you look at the first 2 weeks. Both teams have not been very good on third down or in the red zone offensively. And obviously those are 2 of the base subjects in the NFL, but the Chiefs got to be better in the red zone, just 2 of 5.
And you mentioned tackling. Tackling is one area these guys have struggled defensively. They have the 4th most missed tackles in the NFL so far this year. And that's a big reason why they've allowed the 6th most rushing yards of any team. Now, obviously, no Isaiah Pacheco here tonight. He's on injured reserve, but still, I think there's an opportunity there for Carson Steele, Samaje Perine, maybe Keontae Ingram, one of those guys, or all 3 of them, to have a big night here in this one.
Well, I said that the middle of the field and the Chiefs will have a challenge with Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. The Falcons also have that challenge.
Yeah.
And their linebackers have struggled in coverage. And you mentioned it's not just, wide open. It's also catching it at 5 yards and breaking tackles and getting 20. So Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, guys who can catch at the 1st or 2nd level and make it a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th level play is key tonight.
Now, I want to circle back on our defense for a moment. Like I said, they've been pretty good this year, and creating pressure on Kirk Cousins, I think, is paramount, because Kirk is just a totally different player when he's pressured as opposed to when he is not pressured, and that's true this season as well. When he's been pressured this season, he's just 13 for 21 for 172 yards, 3 sacks, and 2 interceptions. I expect Steve Spagnuolo to dial up a bunch of pressure here in this one.
His pressure rating, QBR, is 48% under pressure. When he's not, it's 117, figure it out. Or 113.2, I should say.
Big difference.
Big difference. It's so divergent. He's one of the most divergent quarterbacks in the league when he has pressure and doesn't have pressure. And he's 36 years old. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not going to run away and run for 40 yards. So you don't have to worry about that. And yes, the blitzes, but it's the creative blitzes for the Chiefs that make it so difficult on Cousins to read, even though he's a veteran. And the other part of this are the safeties. The safeties have been great for Kansas City. I'd say all the DBs, because they're such a key part of the pressure package. You and I talked to Shamari Connor about it. Trent McDuffie is maybe the valedictorian of this, and that is disguising the look for the quarterback. Don't give it away. QBs will see it and be able to react to the hot. Many times they don't have a chance to get to the hot because the DB's on them already, because the Chiefs have not sold and showed them their passcode to their phone. And so the Chiefs are really, really good at it, the DBs in specific.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Shamari Connor because he was awesome last week. Obviously had the touchdown on the fumble recovery, but also had that sack on Joe Burrow, set up the game-winning drive. And you mentioned we talked to him on our podcast earlier this week. We're going to show that to you right now. We had a chance to catch up with Shamari earlier this week on Defending the Kingdom.
If the Chiefs Kingdom wasn't sure who he was before, they sure know who he is now. Number 27, Shamari Connor, the second-year hybrid defensive back for the Kansas City Chiefs. That scoop and score was incredible. Walk us through that play and how excited were you? We're going, I got the ball and I'm going this way.
Yes, sir. I was dropping down in the middle of the defense. Coach Spaz dialed up a great play. The D-line made a great play on the ball. Those guys got the ball out, got the quarterback down, and I just seen the ball popped out late, and I just went to scoop it and take it all the way in.
When you were in the end zone, were you wondering if it counted? Because there was a lot of confusion at first, like was Burrow down, was he not?
Yep.
Did you just not know and you just played through the whistle? What happened there?
Yeah, but I didn't know. I didn't even want to start celebrating. Like, guys came jumping up with me, and I was like, hold up, I don't know if it's a touchdown yet. So.
Well, smart play. I remember being up in the press box, and we didn't really get an angle of it. And then I saw Patrick going out for the 2-point conversion. I'm like, I guess it counted. So it was heads up by you.
Yeah, when I called it for the play-by-play, maybe you've heard the call, I was the same, but you just kept going. And I thought, I'm going to keep going with this call because if it counts, I'm going off. So it was awesome. My second favorite play, and this was so awesome, was your blitz, your A-gap blitz. And I had Trent McDuffie on the Chiefs Kingdom show Monday night, and we were talking about how it's an art form. But you did not tip off the fact that you were coming at all. What about that and going, hey, I'm just back here, and then you were out of a cannon?
Yep. Well, it's really the whole defense play a part in it. Play a part in the strong side got to hold their disguise so it can help me come free. So everybody played, did their job. They held their responsibility. Then at the last minute, everybody just got into it. So it was a great disguise and a great play.
The tight end in the backfield, Justin Reed kind of occupies him. You have a straight shot at Joe Burrow. What's going through your mind there when it's third down and you realize there's no one in between you and the quarterback?
It's just don't miss, don't miss, don't miss. And I was just trying to take the air out as fast as I could before he threw the ball. So I just tried to hurry up and go get him down.
And you got him.
Yes, sir.
But that brings up a point, Shamari, and the fact that our DBs, when they rush like edge rushers.
Yep.
So how much have you learned from McDuffie and the other guys, Jay Reed, about if I blitz, I've got to be under control but still attack?
I learned a lot from those guys. Just every day seeing the way that they do those things when their number is called. Having a lot of one-on-ones with Coach Spags and having that same situation of me blitzing off the edge or me blitzing in that gap. So I was definitely prepared for it.
Just how much fun are you having right now, Shamari? Because I think we all talked about in the offseason, this could be a big season for you. You kind of paid your dues on special teams last year. Now you have a chance to play more on defense. And second game of the year, you have a touchdown, you have a sack that sets up a game-winning drive. How much fun are you having right now?
I'm having time of my life, man. I'm having a lot of fun. Been out there with the guys, flying around on defense, flying around on special teams. I'm having a lot of fun.
But how much is on your plate? I mean, you make the kickoff coverage tackle, right? And let's stop right there. What about this new kickoff rule? Like, you're so close.
Yeah.
You're only 40 yards away from those guys.
Yeah.
Is it kind of weird, or how much have you had to adjust?
It's definitely weird. In the preseason, I was having a little trouble with it, getting used to it, but now I feel like I'm getting a good sense and good feel for it.
And then how much is on your plate? And we're asking you to do, he's a safety, he's a corner, he's got to be a special team ace, you got to blitz, you got to cover, you got to tackle. How much do you go in, like we're going into this Atlanta game, how much do you have in your brain going into a game?
I try not to think too much about all the things, but that's kind of my role, being that versatile guy that can play a lot of different spots. So I just take it all in and just keep grinding at it.
Speaking of versatility, what do you prefer more, picking off Josh Allen like you did last year or sacking Joe Burrow?
I'm a DB, so I'm always going to pick.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yes, sir. But that sack, I'll say the sack, matter of fact, just because of the situation. So I'll say the sack.
Were you leading Matt to a Kirk Cousins pick?
Hey, I don't know. What do you think about this weekend facing the Falcons?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge. They played a great game on Monday, so I'm excited for it.
I'm going to close this way. Virginia Tech defensive players have so much pride in what they call LPD, and that's the lunch pail defense. It goes all the way back to Bud Foster.
Sure.
And you guys have a great fraternity of NFL defensive players from Tech. How much of that have you brought to the Chiefs in the National Football League?
I think I brought a lot. I feel like it's instilled in me. I try to carry myself like that every day, just having that LPD mentality. Every day you going in to work, you going in to get better. So I try to take that with me every day, whether it's coming in here or if it's, off the field, on the field. I just try to live my life like that.
Hey, the Chiefs Kingdom knows he's buying us lunch, and we'll do so again this week against Atlanta.
All right, great stuff there from Chamari Connor. I'm just really excited about his development, and I really think he's the perfect fit for Spags. You mentioned it on the front end. But look at this. In 2022, L'Jarius Sneed had 18 quarterback pressures. That led all defensive backs. And last year, Trent McDuffie had 16 quarterback pressures. That led all corners. Chamari may be next in line for that role.
Yeah, I really think book to book, he's very similar. If you look at L'Jarius Sneed at this point of his career compared to where Chamari Connor is. And we talked about coverage of the running backs. If the linebackers struggle, or it's not just on them because you can develop a scheme where the safeties get involved in the coverage on the running backs. It helps when teams don't have multiple tight ends, which we've seen now for 2 weeks. They do it some, but not as much as Cincinnati and Baltimore did it.
Well, I'm just really excited about Chamari. Hopefully a few sacks here on Kirk Cousins.
And a pick.
In this game. And a pick. Why not? So we have the inactives. There's really no breaking news, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, Patrick Mahomes sets records like every week, and we almost don't even talk about it, but there is a big one he could break here tonight. So last week, Patrick won his 76th career game as a quarterback in the regular season. Well, that tied Tom Brady and Roger Staubach for the most through a quarterback's first 100 starts in NFL history. And here's the thing. Last week was start number 98 for Patrick. So if he wins here tonight, he will own that record. He will pass Tom Brady, pass Roger Staubach, and he'll have the greatest start for a career through 100 career games in the regular season in NFL history. Pretty cool.
It's hard to make that stat any better, but when you consider this, he's 37-11 at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. He is 37-11 in true road games, the same record. And he's 2-0 in neutral games with the two international games he's had. To me, that even takes it a step further. That makes it even more important that the fact that he could be the winningest quarterback in his first 100 games, but he's done half of those on the road, which bodes well in a place like this.
He's also 15-3 in the playoffs and has 3 Super Bowl rings at 29 years old. So
and he won road playoff
good.
games, so we can't say that anymore, right?
Crazy, huh? So Patrick's amazing. Just incredible history he could make here tonight. All right, for the inactives, I mentioned not a lot of breaking news here. This is going to be like the most boring inactive segment ever because neither team had any injury designations coming into this game. There is some housekeeping, though, to talk about. So no Isaiah Pacheco tonight. I think everyone knows that. He won't appear on the inactives list. Well, that's because he's on injured reserve currently. He's out at least 4 games, including tonight. Hopefully Isaiah's back sooner than later, but no Isaiah Pacheco tonight. Also no Kareem Hunt tonight. So Kareem is still on the practice squad. He practiced all week, and Coach Reed said he's looking good, getting into football shape, but he was not elevated to the active roster. So you won't see him on the inactives list, but he's still on the practice squad. So no Kareem Hunt here tonight. I believe Keontae Ingram is active.
He is.
Though, and Keontae Ingram spent the entire offseason with the Chiefs. He was elevated from the practice squad for this game. There's your third running back right there.
Well, keep in mind, and I call it an algebraic equation because people are going, hey, Carson Steele, do I take him in fantasy? Well, I don't think he's going to get 30 touches tonight. So it's a matter of giving Samaje Perine a few more touches. Keontae Ingram, who looked good in the preseason. He's got experience with the Arizona Cardinals, so it's not a newbie. And then let's just leave it open to coaches' ingenuity. So think about in algebra when you had quadratic equations. I think that's what it's going to be tonight, A, B, C, and D, and just put it together.
Now, looking at the Falcons, they also have a clean bill of health. Only guy that I'm watching here, though, in this one, you mentioned Tyler Algier earlier. Very good backup running back who will get some touches here in this game. He had a hip injury in the Eagles game last week and was limited early this week in practice. He was a full participant later in the week. He has no injury designation, but I don't know, something worth watching, that hip injury, see if that's re-aggravated here in this game.
Ooh, he's very underrated, and he's a great tag team, as we mentioned, to Bijan Robinson. The other thing that gets tricky is when they play them together, and they will do that. And now you're putting real pressure on the linebackers and safeties. So I'm with you to see how effective Algier is. But again, they've got some weapons, and they also can adjust.
Well, this Falcons team is feeling good right now. Maybe their biggest win in like the last 5 or 6 years last week against Philadelphia. They're excited about this game here tonight, but it's also a great opportunity for the Chiefs. I mentioned that we are 2-0 for the 7th time under Coach Reed. We've not been 3-0 since 2020. How about we change that here in primetime on Sunday Night Football? For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory!